Hey guys, what's up? So there was a really interesting comment from Alejandro Nuns from 2 weeks ago, and he states, "I think Griffith is meant to prepare the world for the arrival of the other God Hand members, but I think he has his own plans, right?" And another comment from Wonder Bo was, "For what reason do the other four angels need a ritual? I don't know much about such theories. If you can explain, I'll be helpful." Oh, sorry, it will be helpful. And okay, so these two comments, right, happen to be in the same thread. But I thought it would be a good discussion piece for today because, again, the first one kind of ties into the second one. And let's start off with the first one, right, with Griffith preparing the world for the God Hand members. This is quite possible because, as we know, the God Hand members exist in the astral plane. And if you don't know, hey, the God Hand members exist in the astral plane. It was stated by Flora that the astral plane is a realm much deeper than what we know of. First is the human world, and then there's the spirit world, and then deeper it still is the astral realm. Now, we talked about this before, where me and Roche, we talked about how the God Hand members, they are very powerful and almost omnipotent from what we could see of them so far. But one thing we've noticed is that they don't really exist in the world of man unless they're either summoned or some sort of ritual is taking place, which gives more influence for them to come true and manifest themselves. So, as stated by Alejandro, what if Griffith is meant to come to the world of man and, prepare a pathway for the God Hand members to actually come to the world of man and rule? And this is very possible because we saw when Griffith was reborn into the world, well, from Femto to becoming Griffith again, we saw that his first few missions were meant for him to defeat the Emperor, take his body, and create it into the World Tree, a passageway of sorts that allows him to travel very quickly between different areas as the Moonlight Child. But we also see that he's looking for different gates as well, which allow him to traverse lands. As we saw in the previous chapters, he's able to travel with armies at very far distances in a matter of seconds. So far, looking for a pathway has been confirmed. We see that he's looking for some speed of light way. Now, you notice, right, when Griffith first came to the world, only a few people could see spiritual beings because they've already exposed themselves to the spirits and they became more aware to their presence. After Griffith defeated the Emperor, we saw that the entire world was able to see spirits now. This is very significant because it shows that the world is changing itself. Two worlds are now becoming one. The world of fantasy and reality are becoming merged. Now, let's play devil's advocate. What if Griffith's next step with the ritual of departing souls is to gather enough souls to bring the astral realm and the world of man together? What would that cause? Well, we all know that would be a very nightmarish situation because you will have essentially the God Hand members on the world of man and they could essentially rule like gods. And I mean, we still don't have enough information to support this theory, but to what end does Griffith have in trying to create a kingdom? Like, as Griffith is right now, he already has everything he wants, but what is the actual point of Griffith, creating a kingdom and creating socialism, sorry. And, again, I'm not political, but like pretty much creating like a kingdom where people could get better and help people in general, right? Like, what is Griffith's true intentions? Obviously, it can't just be, oh, you know what? I want to just be a good member of society and help elevate everybody else. I just don't see that being Griffith's way. Griffith wants power. He wants to rule. And as we saw with the attacks he had to do and the fighting, we saw that there's infighting amongst apostles, and this is very significant because then it shows us that nothing is all as it seems with Griffiths, and the fact that he's one of the God Hand members, but yet he has to fight these other apostles shows that, you know, there are other people after his throne, so to speak. So let's look at that this way, right? Griffith is like, hey, okay, I want to unite everyone underneath my banner, including apostles, including other Godhead members, including gods, whatever. But, you know, obviously we saw he fought different apostles and stuff. They don't want to have that. It was like, well, I don't care, Griffith. I don't want to be underneath your banner, right? So he's like, well, I'm going to do everything in my power to make it so. And it's subtle. So with that in mind, Griffith has to have some bigger plan for everyone. And he needs people, because Griffith, I feel, in my personal opinion, I feel that he feeds off of others, pretty much, you know, putting him on this pedestal, people looking up to him, people glorifying him, people respecting him, people being charmed by him. He loves that. He lives for it. And it's evident when we saw that, you know, Casca was trying to put some band-aids on him and he wanted to get with Casca, but it wasn't that he wanted to physically get with Casca. It's more like he wanted to exert like some influence over her, but he saw that the influence was gone, and the only thing he saw in his way was guts, you know, and that really broke him. That was like the last straw in him. That's why he wanted to commit suicide and all that stuff before he got beheaded. So I don't see Griffith just trying to create a kingdom just to for being good. And I totally agree with this comment. I think that he's creating a pathway for the Godhead members, but he definitely has his own plans and intentions. But I also think that the Godhead members have their own plans and intentions, because these beings are very, very powerful and very, very wise. The most dangerous thing about these guys is that we don't know enough about them. We might be thinking Griffith is so calculating and dangerous and evil, or just clever, but for all you know, Void, Ubek, Conrad, or Slan, they are more devious than Griffith. And this is very possible, because remember, Griffith, despite he's only a few years old compared to these guys, right? So for all we know, we're dealing with a freaking like crazy killer waiting. Well, we know they're evil and killers, but you know what I mean, like a true tyrant, and they're just buying their time. And Griffith is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this and rule the kingdom and stuff and blah blah blah. And then, you know, all of a sudden they come and, hey Griffith, it's time to pay the piper. And he's like, no, I have my kingdom. And then Void does something where he's like, hey, this is what I did to Emperor Gishtrick back in the day. I'm gonna do it to you too. You know what I mean? There's something bigger going on. And the fact that Griffith fused with the Moonlight Child is a huge wrench in their plans, because that's the only factor that I'm pretty sure none of them counted on, which gives our heroes a silver lining or sliver of a chance to actually survive whatever is coming their way. Again, I can't pretend to be Muriel. He's brilliant, and the way how his mind works when it comes to this storytelling is brilliant. Like, I've been reading this thing for so long, and the way he writes it's really, I wish I could just do what like Shiriki or Fanis was able to do and go in the mind of Muriel just to see what he thinks, to see if his mind is filled with like crazy things like the dick monsters and whatnot. Because honestly, to come up with these kind of creative creatures and ideas is really inspiring, you know what I mean? Like, I wish I was like clever like that. So anyways, on to the second comment. For what reason do the other four angels need a ritual? Well, we saw that with the Behelots and everything else, everything is ritualistic in the world of Berserk. Any type of major event or coming of a god, right? It seems like everything requires rituals. Like, for example, Griffith being reborn into the world required a lot of people being eaten by that Mizami type thing that was flowing through the castle and stuff, and then everything flowing into the Behelit and all kind of stuff, and then you saw the hand being formed and all kind of craziness, and then with the eclipse. So maybe the rituals are sort of keys, like a magic spell where it's like an enchantment, and you like, hey, I summon you, and all kind of stuff like that. So when you look at rituals, like, I think it's an animating overall too, right? Like, okay, I'll prove to you right now, rituals. Like, you mightn't think about it, but like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Dragon Ball Z or Naruto, everything has all these series have a ritual. Like, you'd be like, Dragon Ball Z, well, technically they do hand signs in Dragon Ball Z, like, Kamehameha it's more like a hand positioning, or like Masenko, all these things. Or in Naruto, they do the hand seal movement. Or shoots One Piece, it's not really a ritual, but when he's doing certain techniques and stuff, he says Gonom Gonom, you know what I mean? So every series has a sort of ritual, a sort of way, a passage of getting power. Like for Dragon Ball Z, in order to get more power or get stronger, you have to train usually, right? And in One Piece, you have to eat the devil fruit. So that's the rite of passage to get certain types of powers. And there had to be a limiting factor to prevent other people or the average person from getting these powers. So it's a twofold type of deal, right? The reason why I think rituals play an important part in Berserk is because look at the world building that's going on, right? Miria has to show why certain people are able to get certain things versus others, and the amount of sacrifice to obtain this type of power in the world, like the cost, because it shows how strong these characters are. Like, despite I don't like Griffith as a character because I think what he did was wrong, and everything that's happened was brought on by his own actions, but the level of strength or self-loathing it takes to sacrifice your friends like that and to do what Griffith did is very, very scary, because it takes a lot. You have to really have a lot of weight and strength in character to do what Griffith did. I hate to say it, but the average person could not do what Griffith did because it's so dark and so sinister. The average person couldn't do what Guts has done because, again, Guts had to go through a lot of pain and suffering. I'm telling you right now, as much as, I've trained and stuff, there's no way I would survive one night in the world of Berserk. Like, I don't think any average person can. And not to say I'm average in terms of physical strength or whatever, but you have to be, like, excellent in practically everything to survive. You know what I mean? The world of Berserk is not a good one. And, okay, so that's one part of the rituals, right? And then the other part of the rituals is that we saw that with the branding and the behelits, there are certain factors that need to be activated. And it goes back to what I was saying, like, the writer wanted to make sure that the readers, we understood the level of sacrifice it takes to become an apostle, to become a God Hand member. You can't just be picked up to be a God Hand member. It's like it only happens once every 200 and something years, and you have to be selected by fate itself. You could possibly become an apostle, but then again, not really, because again, the behelit goes to whoever it's fated to go to. And then at that pivotal point, you have to make a sacrifice, right? Once it's activated, you have to make a sacrifice. And if you choose not to, because you summoned them, you could possibly get taken away, as we saw what happened with the Count. But the thing is, I can't say that for certain, because with Count's situation, he already made the initial sacrifice. So when he was dying as an apostle, so does that mean his soul's already damned to go to hell? And him dying was like, hey, if you don't make this decision now and sacrifice your daughter, you are going to die, and when you die, your soul is damned, and you're going to suffer and burn for all eternity. And he chose to do that because he loves his daughter. So can't say with certainty that you would be sacrificed if you summon God Hand with a behelit. But odds are, if you are that enraged and stuff, your soul has fallen into a deep sin already, or deep despair, and that's why they're summoned to begin with. Because remember, when behelits are activated, it's because of great heartache and pain. It's not just like a little slap on your wrist, like, hey, I didn't do so well on my spelling test today, It's like, it's really bad. So you guys let me know what you think. This video has gone on for some time now. Wow. But I think the rituals were written in because, again, Miria is trying to show the level of significance these sacrifices and and summons and summoning God Hand takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, just like Full Metal Alchemist and other stuff. And again, Full Metal Alchemist and stuff, I love that series because it's done and complete, and I experienced the whole thing, but nothing has anything on Berserk. And then with Griffith, I think he does have other intentions, but right now I think he's following a specific path. But he himself is starting to realize that something else is affecting the way he's thinking, and that is the Moonlight Child who's infused within him. So, hey, I appreciate you guys listening to me. Thank you. Comment below and let me know what you think. Take care.